like the old-fashioned.
Yeah, old school. I like it. Okay. We are in Sara'at, which is laws about uncleanness, women's period, sitting on stuff after a woman has her period, or sitting on stuff after a man has a seminal emission, stuff like that. Wonderful stuff in the Bible. I have, however, an amazing teaching. And a lot of people avoid these passages. These were given in the scriptures not as laws. They are given as pictures to learn about God from. So if you avoid it, you don't get to see the picture. Well, we're only going to do one verse. And we're in Leviticus chapter 12. So we're only doing one verse from this Torah portion. And you're going to see how much stuff is in this one verse. And if there's one verse, if there's all this stuff in just one verse of Leviticus and the laws of purity, you can imagine how much amazing information is encapsulated in all these other laws in the Torah. So that's really what my purpose is right now. I want you to see how ridiculously huge is in one little verse of the Torah. Leviticus 12. The Lord spoke to Moshe, saying, "Speak to the sons of Israel, saying, when a woman gives birth and bears a male child, then she shall be unclean for 7 days, as in the days of her menstruation. She shall be unclean. And on the 8th day, the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised. Then she shall remain in the blood of purification for 33 days. She shall not touch any consecrated thing, nor enter the sanctuary, until the days of her purification are complete. But if she bears a female child, then she shall be unclean for 2 weeks, 14 days, as in her menstruation, and she shall remain in the blood of her purification for 66 days. So, if it's a boy, if a woman has a male child, the woman, is unclean for 7 days, for 1 week, plus 33 days. So total, how long is she unclean if a male is born?
41 days.
33 plus 7.
40.
40. So for a boy, the uncleanness lasts 40 days. For a girl, if a girl is born, she's unclean for 14 days plus 66 more days in her impurity. So 66 plus 14 is how many? 80. Twice as long, right, double. Twice as long for a girl as for a boy. When a boy is born, she's unclean for 40 days. When a girl's born, she's unclean for 80 days. This book is a book of the Spirit. It's not a book of laws. It never was a book of laws. God doesn't want us following laws. He's not a dictator. He's not the president. He's not some dictator of a third world country. He wants a relationship. And people everywhere say that, but then they get to the Torah and they go, those are laws. Well, you can't have it both ways. They're either laws, or it's a book of the Spirit, and he wants to tell us something about himself and about spiritual things, so we can learn. You cannot have it both ways. You are either under a dictator, or you're with a lover. They're not both. God is not both. So, why did God say to do this? Why did God tell Israel to do this? What is the picture? Well, if it's a boy, it's 40 days. What do you think that's a picture of? Just take a guess. What do you think it's a picture of?
Up on the renewal.
No, like the number. 40.
Up on the
What do you think it's a picture of? How about 4,000 years?
Okay.
4,000 years. So, for those of you who don't know, there is a 7-day plan of God. Jews, and you're going to see this in a bit. You're going to see one of the greatest rabbis who ever lived quotes this. In all of Judaism, all Jews know this, so that's why I don't have anything up here, because it's just common knowledge to Jewish people. That there's 6 days and then Shabbat. Each day is 1,000 years long. There's 6 days for man, 6,000 years, and then comes God's day, God's Shabbat, which is 1,000 years long. The church calls it the millennium, but the Bible does not. The Bible calls it a whole bunch of stuff. The main ones are Day of the Lord or the Kingdom. So this period of the Kingdom is from the year 6,000 to the year 7,000 in this 7-day span, or 7,000 year span. So, in that 6,000 years of mankind, the year that Yeshua died was the year 4000. And there was a preacher named Bishop Usher, I guess it was Bishop Usher, who counted up all the genealogies. And he came up with Yeshua dying in the year 4000. I've done the same thing. I came up with the same thing. 4000, year 4000. So you can trust us or not trust us, do your own research and find out yourself. But I believe it. I believe that Yeshua died in the year 4000 in that span. So, in my opinion, this 40 days of a woman giving birth to a son is the year 4000. And then she becomes clean. The woman becomes clean. So I think this is a picture of God giving the son. The son. Because it says in the passage, speak to the children of Israel, saying, when a woman gives birth and bears a male child, this is one of the titles for the Messiah, which I'm going to show you. Then, if that's true, if there's 7,000 years for God's whole plan, what is this?
80.
So, the 80, what do you think the 80 would be a picture
The
of?
8th day, or the first day.
How about 8,000? 8,000. So after that 7th day, from the year 6,000 to the year 7,000, what comes after that?
8.
The 8th day. From the year what?
7,000.
7,000 to
8,000.
8,000. However, this one's weird. This one's weird. This 8th day is strange. There is no 8th day in God's plan, but there is. So don't take this the wrong way. Women throw a monkey wrench into everything. You just know that's true. They make life work. They make life fun. They make life like a roller coaster. But it throws a monkey wrench into everything that men like. This makes sense. 40, year 4000, there comes Yeshua. Makes sense. But 80, and there's no 8th day, and it's about a woman. So this is what you're going to see. This is how God works. I mean, he throws a monkey wrench into things on purpose so that you have to go to him and figure this out.
You can ask questions.
You can't figure it. Yeah, you can ask questions while we're talking. Just raise your hand. He does this on purpose so that we have to go to him. You cannot figure this out with your brain, especially men. You can't figure this out with your brain. You've got to figure it out by Scripture and all the patterns that are consistent. Let's go to Genesis 1:26. Genesis 1:26 says, God said, let us make man in our tselem, according to our damut. The word tselem is well translated as image. It's a pretty good translation. According to our damut, likeness is okay, but it's more like model. Like a model or a sculpture, something like that, yeah.
That's kind of blood plural, isn't it?
Say it again.
Blood plural, dom.
That's different word.
I understand it's a different word, but you could.
Well, check it. Check it in here.
I'd have to play to that one.
Yeah. I don't know the answer to that. But I think it's a different word. Let us make man in our tselem
I know.
and our damut, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, etc. Now, when he does this, in verse 27, God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female. So therefore, both the man and the woman are an image and likeness, a tselem and a damut of God. If you want to see God, look at a woman.
Yeah.
If you want to see God, look at a man. That's what he's saying. Both man and women are little pictures of God. Both men and women are little pictures of God.
Yes, amen.
So if you want to understand God, at least some aspects of God, you have to look at human beings. You have to look at both men and women. How did God make women? How did God make men? Women are the way they are, throwing a monkey wrench in everything because they're a picture of God.
Yep.
Men are very logical and strident and rigid. Why? Because God's like that. He's both. It just depends. It just depends on what he's after. Both of us are image and likeness of God. So, in my opinion, what I'm seeing is that the 40 days, or 4,000 years, is a picture of God sending the Son, the male child. Remember, it said the phrase male child? And the 80 days is a picture of the 8th day, or the 8,000th year, 8,000 years. Did you follow that?
God's
lost. So, we're going to look at both. Yes, ma'am. Yes. About the 8? Okay. The 80 days is a picture of 8,000 years after the kingdom. So we'll call it the 8th day or the 8,000th year. We call it either one. Or the 8th millennium, if that makes it simpler. The 8th millennium. Yes?
So on the 4th day he sent the Melech, and on the 8th day he sent the Malka?
No. On the 7th day he sent the Melech. And on the 8th day he sent the Malka. So you got the Malka right, you got the Melech wrong.
Got it.
So Melech, which I'm going to show you.
Okay, cool.
You got 7, and then you got 8. We're going to talk about that. All right, let's go to Revelation chapter 12. Revelation chapter 12. Revelation chapter 1, verse 10 says, well, John says, Yohanan says this. He says, I was in the Spirit unto the day of the Lord. It says in Revelation 1:10, I was in the Spirit unto, in Greek, unto, it's directional, unto the day of the Lord. Now they kind of twist this up in the translation, and it says, I was in the Spirit on the Lord's day. Makes it sound like he was catching some rays on Sunday. It's in Greek, it's real clear. I was in the Spirit unto the day of the Lord. Now, by the time you get to Revelation, if you don't know what the day of the Lord is, you haven't read the Bible.
That's right.
And that's what a lot of people do. They jump to the end of the book and go, I get it. No, you don't get it. You've got to start at the beginning of a novel and read the whole thing, get the characters and the plot and the understanding of who does what to who. Then you understand the end of the book. In order to understand this last book of the Bible, you got to know the whole beginning. And in Judaism, the biggest thing there is to talk about is what they call the days of Messiah, or in the Bible, it's called the kingdom, or the day of the Lord. The day of the Lord. They used to be nuts about it. Jews were nuts about the day of the Lord. Not anymore. So if you don't know what the day of the Lord is by the time you get to Revelation, you don't know what this book is about. Because the whole book of Revelation is about the day of the Lord. It takes place in the day of the Lord. God picked up John and threw him into the day of the Lord. And guess what? He did the same thing to Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Hosea, Enoch. All the way back, 7th from Adam, Enoch, and all the prophets. All of them. 100% of the prophets were taken to the day of the Lord. So when Yohanan says, I was in the Spirit unto the day of the Lord, Jews would then go, wow, he's a prophet. Just like all prophets. This whole book of Revelation is about the day of the Lord. Now, you're well into the day of the Lord by chapter 12. It says, a great sign, a great picture appeared in heaven. A woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. Who is this?
Israel.
How do you know it's Israel?
Because Jacob's dream in Genesis.
Close. Wrong J.
Oh,
Who had the dream?
it's
Of 12 stars, 11 stars. The sun and the moon. Joseph's dream. So, because of Joseph's dream, we know who this is. We know it's Israel. It's a woman clothed with the sun, that's Jacob, with the moon, Rachel, under her feet, and with a crown of the 12 tribes, the 12 stars. And she, Israel, was with child, and she cried out, being in labor and in pain to give birth. One of the major themes of the day of the Lord is one that nobody ever wants to talk about, called the birth pains. The church, what does the church call it?
Tribulation.
Yeah, thank you. Tribulation. The church calls it the tribulation. It's not tribulation in the Bible, it's birth pains. Why birth pains? Because Israel's going to give birth. They're going to have a baby, right? And that's why it's called birth pains. Israel gives birth to this child, this male child. Verse 5. She gave birth to a son, a male, who is to rule all the nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up to God and to his throne. And the woman fled into the wilderness, which she had a place prepared by God, so she was nourished for the second half of the birth pains, 1,260 days. That's the second half of the birth pains. Birth pains last 7 years. And it is during the day of the Lord, it is during the kingdom, during the days of Messiah, what the Jews call the days of Messiah. Okay. So Israel gives birth to a son, a male child. Now 8 is a very strange number. In Judaism, everybody loves the number 7. In the church, everybody loves the number 7. They say it's the number of what?
Completion.
What?
Perfection.
Completion or perfection. The number of completion or perfection. That's fine. That's cool. What are some 7s in the Bible? The Shabbat, the Shabbat year, the Shemitah year, the Jubilee year, which comes after 7 Shabbats, Shabbaton. You have the 7 Shabbaton, the 7 high Sabbaths of the year.
Shavuot.
Shavuot, after 49 or 49 days or 7 weeks. Say it again.
The menorah.
The menorah has 7 branches.
First line of Genesis, 7 words.
Yeah, there's hundreds of them. The main one is a Shabbat. That's the main 7. You have 6 days and then God's day. That is the whole plan of mankind. You have 6,000 years and then God's day. What number is God's day?
7.
What number is God's day?
7,000.
7. So God's day, his 1,000-year day, is on earth. It's not in heaven. It's on earth.
Yeah.
And all the nations are going to come up to Jerusalem on earth.
Yeah.
If that's true,
Amen.
what comes after it?
Shemitah.
Everybody's waiting for heaven.
No.
8 or 1.
But we're going to be on earth for 1,000 years. Well, what comes after that? What comes after that is the 8th day. It's called, we'll look at it in a bit, it's called the New Jerusalem. The New Jerusalem. Go to Revelation 21. I saw a new heaven and a new earth. And by the way, every word here in Revelation 21, you can find word for word or with slight differences in the Tanakh, in the Old Testament. Every single word, every phrase, every picture, every idea is also in the Tanakh. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were gone, and there was no longer any sea. And I saw the holy city, say Yerushalayim.
Yerushalayim.
This is hard. Ha-Chadashah.
Ha-Chadashah.
That's hard. Right? Ha-Chadashah.
Ha-Chadashah.
Yerushalayim Ha-Chadashah.
Yerushalayim Ha-Chadashah.
That's New Jerusalem. The New Jerusalem. And I saw the holy city, Yerushalayim Ha-Chadashah, coming down out of heaven from God, made ready as a what?
Right.
Why isn't it male? Why isn't Jerusalem, the city that is basically heaven, why isn't it a male?
Right.
I mean, Messiah rules over everything in the universe. He's a male. Why isn't the New Jerusalem a male? If Yeshua is the king over it, and it's him, and it's his thing.
He's going to marry her?
Isn't that weird? He's going to marry
a city?
A cube. Because that's what it is. It's a 1,200-mile cube. He's going to marry a cube.
Yeah, that is weird.
It's weird. It's just
The
weird. I
board.
mean, if you just look at it logically, it's weird. But we're so used to thinking symbolically when we read the Bible that it doesn't shock you to say, the New Jerusalem came down as a bride. I read that and I'm like, why? It makes no sense. Unless I know the Tanakh. Unless I know the Tanakh. Because the Tanakh says this about 10 times. That the land, the city of Jerusalem, the people in the city of Jerusalem are a bride that is going to marry God. It's about 10 times in the Tanakh. But if you don't know that, if you just read this having never read it before, you're like, it just makes no sense. It's coming down like a bride. And I heard a loud voice, adorned for her husband, ready for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is among men, and he shall dwell among them. And they shall be his people, and God himself shall be among them. And she is a woman. Verse 10, He carried me away in the spirit to a great high mountain, and showed me the holy city, Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, having the glory of God. Her brilliance was like a very costly stone, a stone of crystal clear yashpe, etc. We're going to read some more of that later. All right. In the Tanakh, more than 40 times, Jerusalem is called this phrase, Bat Zion. Bat Zion. Say Bat.
Bat
Zion. That means daughter of Zion. Zion means desert, by the way. It means barren place. Bat Zion, daughter of Zion. He's talking about the people of Israel. He's talking about Judah, the area of Judah. He's talking about Jerusalem in future. He calls it Bat Zion. He's talking about Israel when Yeshua comes and they see Yeshua, calls her Bat Zion. Always calls her Bat Zion, like she's a female. Like Israel and Jerusalem is some sort of female. So it makes sense that by the time you get to Revelation and you see the new Jerusalem coming down, she's female too. Because she's always been female from the very beginning. Jerusalem has always been a girl, never been a boy. My first trip that I made to Israel, I was by myself, and I was up on the Mount of Olives, and I just didn't know where to go or what to do. I kind of left the group, and I was like, this is like mind-blowing, but I don't know what to do. I got no direction. And I was on the Mount of Olives, and there was this Arab guy, and he was just sitting there picking his teeth or something. And I said, I walked up to him and said, what are you doing? And he goes, look at this city. She is crying. She is so sad. And all I got from that is, why is he calling it a girl? Because I didn't know back then. Even the Arabs know that that city is a female. I didn't know. And I was like confused. Why isn't he calling it him? He is sad. He is crying for the, why is there no peace in me? No, it's a woman. Even they know. All right. So the New Jerusalem is what day? What day?
Eighth day.
The 8th day is New Jerusalem. Now, there are 7 festivals. 7 festivals. 7, they're called Shabbaton, which means high Sabbath, big Sabbath. 7 Shabbaton. First day of Hagamatzah, last day of Hagamatzah, 7th day of Hagamatzah, Shavuot, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, first day of Sukkot, and then the last one, which is weird. Not the 7th day of Sukkot, which you would think would be what would happen. Shemini Atzeret, the 8th day, the day after Sukkot, that is tacked on the end.
That's right.
And you know what? All of the festivals have symbols, and like shofars and menorahs and matzah and bitter herbs and seals and etrog and lulav and water pouring and all kinds of symbols that are associated and certain prayers that have these symbols in them. Every single festival except Shemini Atzeret. There's nothing. Nothing. No symbols, no prayers that are particular to that day.
That's worse than Yom Teruah. Yom Teruah has very little stuff in it, too.
Yom Teruah has more images than any other festival.
Right, but the text itself is very limited in the text.
You mean in Leviticus 23? Yes, Leviticus 23, very limited in the text for Yom Teruah.
Which number is that feast that you said that has?
Shemini Atzeret. Take a guess.
The last one?
Which is what number? It's the 7th
but I don't
of the 7.
We only have 7 feasts.
Right, but it's called the 8th day. Shemini Atzeret. It's called the 8th day. It's the 7th one
Shemini is the word
in the list, but it's called Shemini Atzeret, the 8th conclusion, actually. The 8th conclusion. Isn't that strange? It's the 7th one, You'd think there'd be like, this is the culmination, lots and lots of symbols and stuff. Nothing. You take down your sukkah, you get rid of it. You don't use your shofar, you don't use your lulav, you don't use your etrog, which is what you use to worship with during Sukkot. You get rid of everything. You strip down to nothing, and you just rest. And it's called Shemini Atzeret. And you dance, and you sing, and you party. But there's no symbols. It's like something else, and it confuses the rabbis. Hold on just a second. It confuses the rabbis because it's the only one in which there's nothing to grab a hold of visually. There's nothing to smell. There's nothing to taste. There's nothing to feel. There's nothing. It's like different. Yes?
One of the rabbis teaches it that it means to stay. Just stay one more day with me. We're celebrating with God.
The word atzeret means conclusion or sum up. And one of the translations of that word is to remain or to stay. And so it's like, stay one more day with me. Just stay one more day with me.
And that, what's the name in English?
Eighth
Eight day.
conclusion. Eighth
That's
conclusion.
the name?
That's what it's called. Yeah. The eighth conclusion. That's what Shemini Atzeret means. And here's what freaks me out about it.
Hang in there.
I know all
Yes.
It's the 8th day of Sukkot?
Yes.
Well, Sukkot is 7 days. So it's tacked on the end of Sukkot.
Well, it's 'cause Sukkot is
It's
that
not
last
the 8th day of Sukkot.
Okay, so Sukkot is 7 days?
Yes.
and the 8th
Plus
day-
what?
And then this is the 8th day, so it's a day tacked onto the end of Sukkot. And it's just called the 8th conclusion. But it's not the 8th day of
But there's
Sukkot,
7 feasts.
but there's 7 feasts.
7 days.
Here's what freaks me out about it. For those of you who don't know, every single thing in Judaism, without exception, is a picture to teach us about God and about the tabernacle in heaven and about everything spiritual and about Yeshua and about the day of the Lord. Everything spiritual. That's why God created it. He didn't say, do all this Jewish stuff so you can have some identity. He said, do all this Jewish stuff so you can learn about what it's a picture of. It is a metaphor. Everything in Judaism is a metaphor. Everything. 100% of it. And we've just learned this much, the tip of the iceberg. And I've been studying this for 34 years. And I've just got the tip of the iceberg. But there's nothing during Shemini Atzeret. There's no pictures. The pictures are done. Think about this. You don't have to think about it. I'll show you. Where's my pictures restored book? What do I do with it? I'll show you.
Circulating.
Thank you. This is a big book, and this scratches the surface of how Judaism shows Yeshua. And I just open randomly to anything. Okay, this is Hag HaMatzah, the chapter on Hag HaMatzah, the Feast of Unleavened Bread. It's 80 pages long, and there's hundreds of pictures in it. There's none for Shemini Atzeret. It's still a big chapter, because there's a lot to learn. But there's no pictures. There's no pictures in the Shemini Atzeret chapter to look at stuff that you do during the festival. And the rabbis look at this and go like, it's weird. It's just weird. So, let's talk about this. On the 8th day, the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised. Remember, the child is born, boy, and then he's circumcised on the 8th day, and then 40 days she's unclean, total, 40 days. Look at this. Said Rabbi Yitzchak, the law of the man and the law of the beast are equal. The law of the man is that on the 8th day he shall be circumcised, and the law of the beast is that after 7 days it can be used as a sacrifice. It can be holy. So, therefore, every animal has to live
8 days.
8 days.
one Shabbat.
One Shabbat. That's
One
right.
Shabbat.
That's right.
Every single thing has to live one Shabbat before it can be holy. And then after that, you have this thing tacked on. Just like Shemini Atzeret. In the boy's case, it's circumcision.
One Shabbat.
In an animal's case, it can be used as a sacrifice. It's just like Shemini Atzeret. That the law of the man and the law of the beast are the same. In other words, God created everything so that we would get this point. that on the 8th day, it's something tacked on that it changes. It is now a different thing. It goes from being a beast to being something God can eat, metaphorically speaking. A little boy goes from being a little beast to being a Jew, which is something else altogether. So let's talk about the number 7. The number 7 represents the natural, and the number 8 represents the holy. This is why circumcision is on the 8th day. It takes precedence over Shabbat. In other words, you can circumcise a kid on Shabbat, which is like crazy. That's just crazy. So in other words, circumcision is even more holy than 7th. 8 is even more holy than 7. And 7 is everything. 7 is completion. 7 is the day of the Lord. 7 is the kingdom. But there's something even more holy than that. The New Jerusalem.
Wow.
Look, you're going to freak out when I read you. Look at this.
Okay.
This is going to freak you out. Wait, before you look at it, look at me. Don't read it yet. I have always known this ever since I found it in Judaism. I didn't find it by reading the words of, don't read it yet, please, by reading the words of sages. I found it in the scriptures, and then it was confirmed in the words of the rabbis. But they never came right out and said that the 8th day, Shemini Atzeret, is a picture of the New Jerusalem, which comes after the kingdom. And I never heard that in the church.
Never.
That the New Jerusalem comes after the kingdom. And that's what the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Menachem Schneerson, Menachem Schneerson, greatest rabbi in living history, the greatest rabbi who's walked this planet since Saadia Gaon in the 1600s. Finally, our sages describe the whole of human history as a 7 millennium week, consisting of 6,000 years of human labor in developing God's world, and a 7th millennium that is holy Shabbat and rest for life everlasting. Do you understand what he's saying?
Yeah.
He's saying that this is not a fairy tale, that there's 6 days and then the 7th. 6,000 years and then the Shabbat. This is what Jews have always taught. The era of Moshiach, the Messiah. The festival of Shemini Atzeret, the 8th day of retention, or holding, whose function is to internalize the transcendent, encompassing light of the Sukkah, occurs on the 8th day that follows Sukkot's 7 days. 7 Shemitah cycles are followed by a Jubilee year characterized by liberty, freedom from all the bounds, all the strictures, rather than just suspension. And the Messianic 7th millennium of history will be followed by the supra, that means above historical world to come, the Olam Haba, in which the divine, now I don't even understand these words, by the way. The divine reality will unite with the created reality in ways that we cannot even speak. He's saying the same thing I'm saying. I don't even know what I'm saying.
Right.
That's what he's saying. There's going to be a new thing where all of reality combines with some supra, and I don't even know what I'm saying. But that's what's going to happen. That's what he's saying. You know, in the church, they like to quote this verse in Corinthians. It says, "Eye has not seen, nor has ear heard, nor has it entered in the heart of man the things that God has prepared for those who love Him." That's true. There's no way to describe it. And what it is the world to come, the Olam Haba, which is Shemini Atzeret, the 8th day. That's what he's saying. Can't describe it, but we know what it is. Even when you read the book of Revelation, you still can't understand it. You can't understand the New Jerusalem. Even reading the book of Revelation, it makes no sense. But you can sort of start getting a picture in your mind. Where he says, where does he say? Oh, here it is. Supra-historical. Do you know what that means?
Above history.
Right, above history. So you have history, and then you have something even greater than that. That's what the word Shemini means. That's what it means. It's a word, you know, like the word fat in Hebrew? Do you know what the word fat or oil is?
Shemen?
Shemen is oil.
There you
or
go.
fat.
Whoa. Shemini, Shemen.
Yes.
There's the Shin Mem News.
It's the same word. It covers,
right.
No, it's not mine. It's 8.
There's that.
The word 8
Darn it.
is the same word.
Don't do
as
this to me.
Shimon. I have to go.
Oh.
So you can do it on your own.
Well, I know what I'm doing. I'm doing it in my head as you say
Okay,
it.
all right. Well, you're smarter than I am.
No, I'm not.
So it comes from the word shaman, which is fat, or like the oil fruit, like an olive, is the same word. And it means literally super abundant. In other words, above abundant. Just like supra historical. The word 8, just the word 8, means really fat.
Infinity.
Really fat. Infinity fat. And fat is not fat like this. It means good, juicy stuff.
Pure olive oil.
P-H-A-T, right?
Yeah, P-H-A-T. So it's the same exact picture. That Shemini Atzeret is exactly the same picture as the New Jerusalem.
Overflowing.
Overflowing
Yes.
beyond.
And see, that's just like Havdalah. That's just like Havdalah. Havdalah is an exact
Yes.
picture of the end of the Shabbat.
So I can't go there.
Oh man, that's awesome.
is so
That's
just-
ain't that cool?
Let me just get it on the thing, and then people can figure out themselves. Havdalah is the end of Shabbat. And we have a cup, we pour wine into it until it overflows. And it's the end of Shabbat. Well, what comes right after Shabbat?
8.
The 8th day, the new week. So Havdalah and the overflowing wine
Wow,
is
that's
exactly
cool.
the same picture
That's cool.
as the end of Shabbat
Shavuot.
and the beginning of what?
The 7th-day beginning of the 8th, which is
Beginning
the
of
first-
what?
The week.
The 8th day, which is, think bigger, what's the 8th day? What's the 8th day?
The
New
supernatural.
Jerusalem. So you have Shabbat, which is the kingdom,
The
and then right after it,
There we go. New beginnings.
The-
And on
the
8
New
equals
Jerusalem.
1, you know.
the New Jerusalem.
Wow.
Okay.
That's cool, man.
Go to Isaiah
That's
9.
way cool.
Isaiah 9.
Wow.
Wow.
6.
And we celebrate Havdalah every week.
For a child will be born to us, a son will be given. A child will be born to us, a son will be given. How long is she unclean? When a child is born to us, a son is given? 40 days. It's a picture of the 40th year, 4,000th year when Yeshua died. Not when he was born, when he died. When he died. When he became all uncleanness. All uncleanness. A child will be born to us, a son will be given, and the government will rest on his shoulders, and his name will be called Wonderful, Counselor, Mighty God, Eternal Father, Prince of Peace. And he's a what?
Male.
He's a what?
Child.
A child, a son.
Male child.
A son.
Male.
A son. A male child. A son. And he's Wonderful, Counselor, Mighty God, Prince of Peace. Weird. Just weird. Go to Psalm 2. There's 2 verses in Psalm 2 that say the same thing, only a different time period. A different time period.
2 seconds.
Psalm 2. Verse 7. I will. Wait. Before we read this, listen. A son will be given to Israel, a child who's wonderful counselor, mighty God, Prince of Peace, everlasting Father. Okay, that happened when Yeshua came, yes?
Yes.
And then he died. He became complete uncleanness, and now we're waiting.
Yes.
So that happened in the year 4000. But he's going to come again at the end of the birth pangs, during the day of the Lord, at the end of what the church calls the tribulation, what the Bible calls birth pangs, during the day of the Lord. The day of the Lord is how long?
1,000.
1,000 years. So he's going to come then to establish his kingdom on earth. When we're reading here in Psalm 2, it's not talking about when he came the first time. It's talking about when he comes the second time. And we know that because it uses the word king over and over again. The kingdom is the day of the Lord. So that's the 7th day. The Shabbat of God is called the kingdom. So we're reading here in Psalm 2, we are now transported forward in time to the day of the Lord. Verse 7. I will surely tell of the decree of the Lord. He said to me, you are my son. Today I've given birth to you. Don't even ask me what that means because I have no clue. God is talking, says, today I've given birth to you. Ask of me, and I will surely give the Gentiles as your inheritance, and the very ends of the earth as your possession. You shall break them with a rod of iron, and shall shatter them with earthenware. Now therefore, O kings, show discernment, take warning, judges of the earth. Worship the Lord with reverence, with fear, and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son. Kiss the Son. Remember, that's why we kiss the mezuzah. And we kiss the Torah scroll when it's paraded around. You kiss it because you're doing homage. You're showing respect.
The picture.
You're showing respect. It's the right picture to show respect. We're basically doing this verse. Kiss the Son, lest he become angry and you perish in the way, in the derech. For his wrath may soon be kindled. How blessed are all who take refuge in him. So this is a two-sided sword here. It's for those who don't worship the king, it's wrath. For those who do worship the king, it's wonderful. It's comfort. So this is during the kingdom. And he's a son. He's a son when he came the first time. He's a son when he came the second time. But the fact that it's 40 days of uncleanness, that's a picture of the first coming, when Yeshua died in the year 4000. But then what comes later? What comes later? The what?
The day of the Lord.
The day of the Lord, or the kingdom. And then comes the New Jerusalem. So we still have to have Rosh Hashanah fulfilled, Yom Kippur fulfilled, Sukkot fulfilled, before the New Jerusalem comes. Rosh Hashanah, I'm not going to go into the doctrines of Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur or Sukkot, except to say Rosh Hashanah is the beginning of the kingdom. Yom Kippur is when the Messiah comes back literally to judge. And Sukkot is when he sets up his reign, his kingdom.
Is the Great White Throne Judgment on Yom Kippur?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
Cool.
And I'm just going to leave
Yeah.
All right. So you have the kingdom and then the New Jerusalem. I hope I've made that clear. Have I?
Yep.
The kingdom, which is what day? Seventh. And then the New Jerusalem is what day? Okay, cool. All right, let's go to Isaiah 65. Oh, I turn right to it.
It's called Shemin.
Isaiah 65, verse 17. For behold, I create a new heavens and a new earth, just like we read in Revelation.
Where are you at?
Isaiah 65, verse 17. Okay, so here's what I want you to look for. Is the passage talking about the kingdom, or is the passage talking about the New Jerusalem? We're going to look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 passages. And I want you to tell me, is it talking about the kingdom, or is it talking about the New Jerusalem? The eighth day. Let's do it first. We haven't only read one verse. We can do several. Verse 17, for behold, I create new heavens and a new earth.
New Jerusalem.
And the former things shall not be remembered or come to mind, but be glad and rejoice forever in what I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem for rejoicing, her people for gladness. I will also rejoice in Jerusalem and be glad in my people. There will no longer be heard in her the voice of weeping and the sound of crying. No longer will there be in it an infant who lives but a few days, or an old man who does not live out his days. For the youth will die. The youth will die at the age of 100. And the one who does not reach the age of 100 will be thought of as accursed. And they shall build houses and live in them. And they shall plant vineyards and eat the fruit. And they shall build, and another won't live in their house that they built. They shall not plant, and another eat of it. For as the lifetime of a tree, so shall the days of my people be. And my chosen ones shall wear out the work of their hands. Is it talking about the New Jerusalem or the kingdom?
The kingdom.
Is it on earth or something else?
Something else, right?
It's on earth.
This
They're going to build houses.
has children.
They're going to have children that will die.
Will die.
They will have,
Before the,
they'll die old, but they're going to die.
So that's the
There's going to be vineyards and food to eat.
And they'll be working.
And they'll be working the land.
Yeah, I guess that's.
Kingdom or New Jerusalem.
kingdom.
The kingdom. This is on earth. This is the kingdom. Although it started with the same exact words that Revelation chapter 22 started with. Right?
It kind of was confusing.
I shall build a new heaven and new earth. Remember?
Yeah.
Revelation 21 and 22 said that. All right, let's go to Isaiah 66. We're going to kind of work our way backwards. Isaiah 66, verse 10.
Verse 7.
Good places, yeah.
Verse 10. Be joyful with Jerusalem and rejoice for her, all you who love her. Be exceedingly glad with her, all you who mourn over her, that you may nurse and be satisfied with her comforting breast. Look at her! She is crying! She is very sad! Even they know that she's a woman.
Right.
How did they know that and we don't know that? Even the Arabs know that it's a woman. Well, here it says it right here. She's got breasts, and you're supposed to be comforted with them. What comes out of breasts for a baby? Milk. That's the pictures.
Torah, unless you're a liberal.
That's the pictures. And that's where it comes from, is Jerusalem. That's where the pictures, the shadows, the types, the images come from. That you may nurse and be satisfied with her comforting breasts, that you may suck and be delighted with her bountiful bosom. Behold, I extend peace like a river. The glory of the Gentiles like an overflowing stream. You will be nursed, you will be carried on the hip and fondled on the knees, as one whom his mother comforts, so I will comfort you, and you will be comforted in Jerusalem. Then you will see, your heart will be glad, and your bones will flourish like new grass. And the hand of the Lord will be made known to his servants. He shall be indignant toward his enemies, for behold, the Lord comes in fire. Now it goes into something else. From verse 10 to verse 14. New Jerusalem or kingdom?
New Jerusalem.
What do you think? New Jerusalem? What do you think?
New Jerusalem.
Make a choice. What do you think? Everybody's got to vote. Kingdom or New Jerusalem?
I got lost.
I think it's a New Jerusalem.
Also New Jerusalem.
He hasn't given one single physical description, has he?
No.
It's all spiritual. You're going to drink from giant breasts. Really? You're going to be comforted like grass. You're going to flourish. Your children will
New
grow up
Jerusalem.
like grass with dew on. That's all metaphors. There's nothing physical here.
Yes.
This is the New Jerusalem.
Yes.
This is the New Jerusalem. You got it. Okay, let's go to Isaiah 66, verse 15. For behold, the Lord will come in fire, and his chariots like the whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. For the Lord will execute judgment by fire, and by his sword on all flesh, and those killed by the Lord will be many. Kingdom or New Jerusalem?
Kingdom.
Kingdom. This is, I can tell you what date in the kingdom.
Right?
Easily. This is an easy one. Okay, Isaiah 62. Let's work back. Isaiah 62, verse 4. Well, verse 1. For Zion's sake, I will not keep silent, and for Jerusalem, I will not keep quiet. Verse 4. It will no longer be said to you, to Jerusalem, forsaken, nor to your land, desolate. But you will be called this. My delight is in her. What does it say? What does it say? My delight is in
Her.
not you. It doesn't say you.
Her.
Yeah, it does.
It says in Hebrew, it says her. If yours says you, it's a bad translation.
What
It says
verse?
her.
4
Verse 4.
or 5.
Yeah, this says, for the night delights in you.
This says her.
In Hebrew, it's feminine.
I'm
It says
checking,
in her.
7, that's the kingdom.
On verse 4?
Verse 4. It will no longer be said to you, forsaken, nor to your land will it be any longer be called desolate, but you will be called, my delight is in her. And by the way, I've checked this 4 times in Hebrew.
Wow.
My delight is in her. And your land married, for the Lord's delight is in you. Now there it says you, but he's already called it a her, a female. Hefzibah. It's a feminine word.
Oh, okay, yeah, the first one does say her.
Hefzibah.
For as, right, Hefzibah,
It does say
in
her
her.
first.
For as a young man marries a virgin, so your sons will marry you. And as the bridegroom rejoices over the bride, so your God will rejoice over you. On your walls, O Jerusalem, etc. New Jerusalem or kingdom?
Kingdom.
Kingdom.
Come on,
Seven days.
say it loud.
I say.
Kingdom.
It's a
New
chick.
Jerusalem.
What is it? It's a bride.
Jerusalem.
Oh.
That's the New Jerusalem.
Yes, that's the New Jerusalem. The New Jerusalem. This is the king.
Well, see,
Shemini says.
it's because it started
Eighth
as, when you started reading it started like a kingdom, but then at the end it changed.
It never sounded like a kingdom because these were all metaphorical pictures. There's nothing physical here. How can you marry a land? That doesn't even make sense. You're going to marry the land.
And the sun.
With this ring, I thee wed dirt. It makes no sense. It's a metaphor. So if there's nothing but metaphor, it's all Shemini Atzeret. It's the eighth day.
Right.
But if you have physical descriptions of stuff going on, it's a kingdom.
That makes
That's
sense.
how you can tell. Okay. We'll marry the dirt.
It's simple.
It is. It's very simple. Isaiah 54. Isaiah 54. Verse 10. For the mountains may be removed and the hills may shake, but my loving kindness will not be removed from you, and my covenant of shalom will not be shaken. O afflicted one, storm-tossed and not comforted, behold, I will set your stones in green, puch in Hebrew, green stones like the turquoise color, and your foundations I will lay in sapphire. I will make your battlements, your walls, rubies, and your gates of ekdach, which is a collapsed or hollow stone, a pearl.
Okay.
And your entire wall of precious stones, and all your sons will be taught of the Lord, and your well-being of your sons will be amazing. New Jerusalem or kingdom?
New
New
Jerusalem.
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 Big time New Jerusalem.
Yes.
This is what's being quoted in Revelation 22. Okay. Let me show you a picture of this. A very simple picture. Go to Ezekiel chapter 40. This is just a picture. It's not a description. It's a shadow, a type.
What chapter? 40.
Ezekiel 40.
Ezekiel 40.
Ezekiel 40.
Ezekiel 40.
Verse, well, before I tell you the verse, let me tell you what's going on here. Ezekiel chapters 40 through 48. Anybody know what that's about?
It's complicated.
Third kingdom.
The temple.
It's not complicated at all.
The temple.
It's about which temple?
Yeah.
Which
The third.
The temple of the New Jerusalem.
No, not in the, there is no temple in Jerusalem.
The kingdom.
Good. The temple in the kingdom. Remember, there is no temple in New Jerusalem. The land and its, our God and the Lamb are
Will be the
its
temple, yeah.
temple.
Oh, that's right.
There is no temple.
That's right.
That's another clue. So, in Ezekiel chapters 40 through 48, it gives you more detail than you can handle about the temple in the kingdom. Now it says in verse 17, he brought me to the outer court. Wait, let me make sure I'm doing the right thing. Verse 17, he brought me to the outer court. Now the outer court is not near God. It's way out where the Gentiles hang out. And Jews who are unclean, and Jews who want to be there. They just want to be there. He brought me into the outer court. There were chambers and a pavement made for the court all around. Verse 19. He measured the width from the front of the lower gate to the front of the exterior, 100 cubits. Verse 20. As for the gate of the outer court which faced the north, he measured its length, its width, etc. Verse 22. And its windows and its porches, its palm tree ornaments, the same measurements as the gate, faced the east. And it was reached by, what does it say? What does it say?
It was reached.
7 steps.
Thank you. 7 steps. Is this inner court or outer court?
Outer.
Outer court.
Outer court is reached by 7 steps. And it says the same thing, by the way, for the north and the south side, that they are reached by 7 steps. This is a picture of the kingdom. It's the outer court. It's holy, but it's not as holy as that core. On the inside, the heart, the core. That's something else. This is reached by 7 steps, the outer court. Now look at Ezekiel 40, verse 28. Then he brought me to the inner court. Now he takes them even farther into the core of this thing, and he takes them to the inner court by the south gate. So this is the south gate. Verse 31. Tree ornaments, blah, 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 side pillars, and its stairway had how many steps?
8.
How many steps?
8.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Everything in the temple is 7. Everything. If it's not 4, it's 7. But here you got 8 steps going into that inner core.
So
This
for
is a
that.
picture of the New Jerusalem. And by the way, everything here is square. 100 by 100, 50 by 50, 150 by 150, 100, 100, 100. Everything's square.
A cube.
A cube. What does the New Jerusalem look like?
A cube.
No, it's a cube.
The Rubik's Cube.
It's a 1,200-mile cube. And it's the temple. It's the core. It's the heart of
Here
this
to
thing.
Chicago.
And it's 8 steps to get to it. This is not a coincidence. God planned this so we can understand.
So why 8?
Because it's the you weren't here. Because it's the 8th
Sorry,
day.
Doug.
Oh, okay.
Jerusalem.
That makes sense.
You weren't here. That's all right.
8-1.
I'll give you some grace when you were here. All right. So that's on the south side. Now on the east side, look at verse 32.
You're blessed.
Right?
On the east side, he says, the inner court toward the east. Now go to verse 34. Porches toward the outer court, palm tree ornaments, side pillars, each side. The stairway had
8.
8
Also.
steps. On the south side is 8 steps. Verse 35. Then he brought me to the north. Now he's on the north. Same thing in verse 37. It also had a stairway of 8 steps. No matter where you come from to get to that supra-historical,
Cube.
don't even know what it is, core thing, cube that has never existed before, that you can't describe, you've got to go 8 to get to it.
So that's the stairway to heaven.
Oh, that's right.
That's the stairway to heaven.
It is.
Woo! That was good.
So 7 to the outer court.
Indeed.
7 to the outer court and another 8 to get.
That's the stairway to heaven. Yep. That's right. Everybody, reads all these passages about the kingdom and they say, oh, we can't wait to go to heaven. No. Absolutely wrong.
Right.
It's the kingdom. And then after that is heaven.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Fix the earth first. Yeah. Tikkun olam.
Okay, now I'm going to wrap this
Just take a
thing
while.
up and it's going to confuse you.
Throw that monkey wrench.
I'm going to throw that monkey wrench in, baby. I'm going to throw that monkey wrench in and you're just going to love it. So,
Not if it's that kind of wrench.
here comes the woman part.
Yeah.
Here comes the girl who throws the monkey wrench in. So, there was this weird story in Genesis. I never understood. It made no sense to me. It made me mad at God. So mad at God. I'm like, why? What is this about? Gentiles read this and like, oh, that's the kind of God you serve. And they should. This is stupid. You shouldn't have done this. And get mad at God. And it's about Sarah and Hagar. Because Sarah, see how beautiful she is?
Right.
And how ugly Hagar is.
You feel?
It feels. Well, Hagar was probably prettier than Sarah. But I think
Princess problem.
Yeah.
Sarah
Been the ugly princess.
was barren, and Abraham kept having sex with her and nothing would happen. And then God promised him a son, and he believed it, so he kept trying to have sex, and nothing happened. And then finally he showed up to Sarah and said, you're going to have a child. And she believed it. And then all of a sudden, it took. The sex worked, and the baby was born. But in the meantime, Hagar had a baby by Abraham because Sarah told him to do it. It's just not working. It's not taking.
Right.
You're just shooting blanks. We got to do something. And so she says, take my handmaid Hagar, this Egyptian chick, have sex with her, and I'll call it my baby. And he's like, okay. And that's where the story falls
Yes, ma'am.
apart for me. I wouldn't go, okay. I'd get really mad. This is part of our family. This Hagar, she's part of our family. She's going to turn against us. This is not a good idea. And sure enough, that's what happens. Hagar turns against Sarah and starts, look what I got, baby. Look what I got. And Sarah gets all mad and it turns into a big problem. And Sarah says, kick her out. Kick her out of the camp. And I'm like, God, you're not going to, oh, he does. You can't do that to this woman. And he does. God tells Abraham, listen to your wife. Get rid of her. Kick her out. And I would get really mad at God when I read this. because it's mean. It's just plain mean. But it was a picture that was acted out for a reason, for our benefit. Once I learned the picture, it was like, oh, I get it. Don't worry, you took care of it. That's fine.
Makes sense.
I get it. You're trying to teach us something. It's very confusing if you don't know the basics. It's very confusing. So I'm telling you right up front, I'm going to try my best, but you might get confused. Go to Galatians chapter 4. I'm going to try to explain it as best I can. And Daniel, I'm asking you right now, please, if you get rabbi trails, just don't go for it right now, because this is going to be hard to get this across. So make notes. If you get something, make notes.
Is it Galatians or Revelations?
Galatians chapter 4. Okay, Galatians chapter 4, verse 8. I want to establish who he's talking to in the book of Galatians. However, at that time, when you did not know God, who's he talking to?
Gentiles.
Who's he talking to?
Heathens.
Who's he talking to?
To Gentiles.
When you did not know God, who's he talking to?
Gentiles.
God is known in Judah. In Israel, God's name is great. When you didn't know God, who's he talking to?
Gentiles.
Jews.
Not Jews.
God is known in Judah.
The Gentiles.
God is known among the Jews. God is known in Judah. In Israel, God's name is great. And he's talking to somebody who didn't know God. Who's he talking to?
The Greeks.
He's talking to the Greeks. He's talking to Gentiles. And you need to know that to understand this passage, or else you're not going to understand it. He's talking to Gentiles. When you didn't know, at that time, when you didn't know God, you were slaves to all that stuff that by nature are not gods.
Yeah.
Gods, plural. Who's he talking to?
Gentiles.
Gentiles.
No, they're idols.
Pagans, Gentiles.
Boy.
But now that you have come to know God, or rather to be known by God, how is it that you turn back again to what? To what? Turn back again to what?
To false gods.
To your Gentile ways. He's
They're
not
idols.
talking to Jews here. And he's not talking about Jews who are, who are under the law and trying to condemn the Gentiles. He's talking to Gentiles. He's telling them, Gentiles, don't turn back again to that junk that you were under when you were Gentiles. You've come to know God now, the God of Israel.
Yes.
And you're known by God, the God of Israel. Don't go back. That's the context.
Then he'll
That's the context. In fact, he gets more specific here about the context. To the weak and worthless, elemental, earthly things to which you desire to be enslaved all over again?
Right.
You want to be enslaved with that stuff? Now, I'll give you a description you can read that will give you even more details of the weak and worthless elemental things. It's in it's in Colossians. Go to Colossians chapter 2. The weak and worthless elemental things that you used to like. Don't go back there. Verse 8. See to it that no one take you captive through philosophy. Is philosophy Jewish or Greek?
Greek.
It's Greek. He's talking about Greek junk here.
Yeah.
See to it that no one takes you captive through philosophy and empty lies, according to the tradition of men. The tradition. People quote this and say he's talking about Jews.
No.
Nope.
Traditions.
Gentiles.
Gentile traditions of men.
The Roman Emperor have always had traditions.
According to the elementary principles. There's that phrase again. The elementary principles of the world, rather than according to Messiah.
Right.
Now look at verse 20. Verse 20. If you have died with Messiah to the elementary principles of the world. So, tell me what the elementary principles are that we've seen. What are the elementary principles? Starts with a P.
Philosophy.
Philosophy. And it starts with a T.
Traditions.
Traditions of men. That's Greek. It's not Jewish. It's
Right.
Greek. And you can see it here for yourself. You can read the context. Now go back to Galatians. Now that we have the context, that we know he's talking to Gentiles, he's trying to tell Gentiles something, not Jews. And this is in the book of Galatians. Everybody loves to quote the book of Galatians and say, oh, those evil Jews, they need to read the book of Galatians and stop trying to put people under the law. Not what the book is about at all. Not in any way, shape, or form. Galatians, I don't know yet. It's in Galatians 4, verse 10. Now that you know what he's talking about, look at this mind-blowing verse. You guys observe days and months and seasons and years. So what's he talking about?
Moedim.
Huh?
Moedim?
No! Who's he talking
To
to?
the Gentiles.
And he's talking about their worthless
All
philosophy and
their
worthless
philosophy
ways.
and traditions.
He's talking about traditions of men. He's talking about whatever their holidays were. I don't know, I'll just say Christmas and
okay.
Easter. Right?
So not the Jewish
Messed
ones.
up.
the
It's
ones
not
Greek
the Jewish ones, it's the
Okay.
Gentile ones, whatever they are.
Got it.
Saturnalia and St. Crispin's Day.
Oh,
I
That's
don't
the first one we're talking
I don't
about.
know.
Paul,
You observe days and months and seasons and years. I cannot tell you how many times I've had this quoted. I'm going to cry right now. I can't tell you how many times I've had this quoted to me by Gentiles saying, Michael, you're trying to put me under the law.
Yeah.
For you observe days. I always do a woman's voice, I don't know.
Yeah.
You observe days and months, and seasons and years. And they're wrong. They're 100% wrong. Now, it is in this context that Shaul tells this story that I've illustrated about Sarah and Hagar. And if you can get a hold of this, I guarantee you it will change your life. It will change your life. It'll change the way you look at the Bible. It'll change the way you look at the world. And probably more importantly, it'll change the way you look at you. Chapter 4, verse 21. Well, verse 19. My children, with whom I'm again in labor, until Messiah is formed in you. I wish to be present with you so I could change the way I'm talking to you, because I'm really freaked out about you. I'm really bothered about what's going on with you. Tell me, you who want to be under law. Who's he talking to?
Gentiles.
Who's he talking to?
Gentiles.
Gentiles.
That's right.
And yet he says, you who want to be under law. So obviously, he's not talking about doing Judaism to learn about God. He's talking about Gentiles who are going, you didn't wrap your tzitzit right. That's not right. Did you drive to services? That means you started a fire. You broke the Torah. I can't tell you how many Gentiles I've met like this. They're called
Right.
Hebrew roots. They're called Messianic. Tens of thousands of them. And they don't even understand what the passage says to them. And you might be one of them. And if you can get a hold of what he's saying here, it'll change the way you think. It'll help. It'll help you tremendously. But you got to really think this through. These Gentiles want to be under the law. Now, I read this and I read curse of the law.
Right.
Because there's two parts of law. There's a curse and then there's the pictures. And these guys wanted to be under the curse of the law. Nothing has changed. Don't you listen to the Torah? You want to be under the Torah? Well, don't you listen to the Torah? In the Torah, it's written that Abraham had 2 kids. One by the slave woman and one by the free woman. But the son of the slave woman was born according to the flesh, and the son of the free woman through a promise. And the promise was to Sarah, you're going to have a baby. And to Abraham, you're going to have a baby. Totally different, against nature. Throws a monkey wrench into everything. This is allegorically speaking. I don't like that word allegory. This is pictorially, metaphorically speaking. This is a metaphor. This story that I put in the Bible, God says, about Abraham and Sarah and Hagar, is a metaphor to teach you. And the metaphor speaks, these women are 2 covenants.
Right?
Did you get that when you read the story about Abraham and Sarah and
No,
Sarah? Why? Why not? Why not? I didn't.
I didn't get it.
Why didn't we get it?
I don't know.
When we read the story in the Torah portion about Abraham and Sarah and Hagar, why didn't we go, oh, that makes sense, it's about two covenants?
Because it was hidden.
Because we're stupid, that's why.
Well, that too.
I'm putting myself in that camp. We're stupid. We don't know. We don't know what the Bible says. Shaul knew. And Shaul was a Pharisee.
Right?
So why don't we know? This is metaphorically speaking. These two women are two covenants. One proceeding from Mount Sinai, bearing children who are to be slaves. That's Hagar. Did you know that?
No,
Not
I read
Did you know that when you read about Abraham and Hagar and Sarah, that Hagar is a picture for us of Mount Sinai and the curse of the law? You shall do this. You shall not do that. Did you know that?
No.
I didn't. This Hagar is Mount Sinai. He says it emphatically.
Right.
He doesn't say she's a picture of Mount. He says she is Mount Sinai in Arabia and corresponds to the present Jerusalem because she's in slavery with her children. But the Jerusalem above, say Yerushalayim,
Yerushalayim.
Me'olah.
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 Jerusalem above, Yerushalayim, Me'olah. Me'olah. But Yerushalayim, Me'olah, she's our mother.
She's free.
She's our mother. Do you know that Jerusalem above is your mother? Did you know that? I didn't know that.
What was that again?
Hey, I use that excuse
Jerusalem
once.
above is our mother.
Jerusalem.
Jerusalem above is our mother. Did you know that you have a mother and it's Jerusalem above?
No.
Not until I read it here.
Jerusalem above is our mom. Because it's written, rejoice, barren woman who does not bear. Break forth and shout, you who are not in labor, for more are the children of the barren than the one who has a husband. And you, brothers, like Isaac, are children of promise. Gentiles. Remember, he's talking to Gentiles. But as at that time he who was born according to the flesh persecuted him who was born according to the Spirit, that's how it is now. Nothing's changed. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what does the scripture say? Cast out the bondwoman. Get rid of her. And make Michael Washer mad at God. Get rid of her.
No, it makes sense now.
Why? Because it's a picture for us to learn from. He says, get rid of the woman and her son. Because the son of the slave is not going to be an heir with the son of the free.
Right.
So, brothers, we're not children of the slave. Who is Hagar? What is Hagar?
Mount Sinai.
What is Hagar?
Curse of the law.
Mount Sinai, the curse of the law. We are not her children. We are not Hagar's children. We are not children of the curse of the law. We're not. We're children of our mother, which is Jerusalem above, Sarah above. And she is free. She is freedom. It was for freedom's sake that Messiah set us free. So keep standing firm and don't be subject again, like when you were pagan, to a yoke of slavery, to paganism. There is no difference, zero difference between doing Jewish stuff and not looking for what it's a picture of above and being a pig-eating, Christmas-keeping, St. Crispin's Day keeping pagan that worships a tree in Ireland. There's no difference. No difference. There's no difference between Mary, Virgin of Guadalupe worshiping Catholic Mexican Catholic, and a Jew who does Judaism
And curses and free people.
and doesn't look for what it's a picture of above in heaven. There's no difference. They're both in bondage. We are both in bondage. But if you can get a hold of this concept, And you can, every single time you read the Bible, tell yourself, there's a curse in it, and there's a picture in it that's going to show me something about Sarah, something above. She's our mom. I want to see what's up there. I want to see what's going on. So if you look carefully, you'll see it. But you got to look very carefully. If you don't, you might as well just eat a pig. What does it matter? Just keep Christmas. Who cares? You're not doing anything. You're not doing anything different from everybody else. And there's certainly no freedom in it. And you already had that back there. So don't go back there. Find something different. Find something different. Because there is something different. It's the pictures. And they're hard to find. Because there ain't a whole lot of people doing this. By the way, I have some good news for you. I went on the internet and I looked up Shemini Atzeret, 8th day, New Jerusalem. And guess what I found?
You.
I found 10 other people teaching it.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Really?
I'm not the only one anymore.
Nice.
I've been waiting 30 years for this. And it's starting to happen. I'm not the only one. And by the way, some of this revelation I got that I never had before, I got from one of those sites. Isn't that awesome? You know what it was? It was the picture in Ezekiel of the temple and then the
8, 7,
Oh.
8 7 steps and then the 8 steps. I didn't come up with that. I got that off the internet from a Gentile teacher.
Wow.
Isn't that awesome?
That is awesome.
I'm not the only one anymore.
Eyes are being open. That's cool.
Yeah. Okay.
So the son of Hagar wouldn't be just one specific religion he's talking about.
It's
It's
just
a curse.
anybody.
Yeah.
It's anybody
who's under bondage.
who's under the curse of the law.
Right.
Yep. So she's our mama.
Hmm.
She's our mama. She's fat. P-H-E-T. Shemini Atzeret, 8th conclusion.
She's
Remember,
a cube.
Shemini is from shaman, which means to make fat,
She's a
to
cube.
cover with fat, to superabound. The 8th day.
Huh.
Now we got all that
In
from
one
reading
verse.
what?
One verse.
Where do we start?
Leviticus 12:3.
Where do we start?
Leviticus 12:3.
Leviticus 12:3 in the laws about uncleanness.
Wow.
And that's one tiny little speck.
Brother, what is agar mean? Agar,
Hagar, not a clue.
you don't know?
The ger.
The what?
Oh,
The
the
goy.
Ger?
Hagar!
The
Right.
sojourner?
The Garrett.
Check it before we get excited.
Oh my
the
God.
word ger means stranger.
Ah.
The
That would
And
make sense.
Hagar, ha means the. So if, I want you to check it first, but if this is correct,
You could read
it means
Paul pointed.
the stranger, the Gentile.
That would make sense.
It makes sense.
Perfect
That is
sense.
awesome.
Ain't that cool?
I don't want to get too excited until you check it. But
No, I have checked that one. I know.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, that's easy.
Okay, we're going for it. Thank you.
We're going for
Thank
it.
you.
Can I understand that the curse of the law is when you don't keep the law, it's a curse, you know. But you keep
No,
it.
no, 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 you're wrong.
No.
I don't understand that.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that.
So say
Hold
that.
on, hold on, hold on. Hold your little horsies. Hold your little mules. You just said, if you don't keep the law, it's a curse. That's what you just said. I didn't have this on, I don't know why, I just forgot.
Yeah.
These are a picture. Can you teach from these?
Yes.
You can? You can teach all about like what the numbers and the windings mean? Okay, excellent. I've talked to people, so many people I can't even count, who can't, and they're wearing them. And I say, oh, that's awesome, what's that a picture of? Well, I was given this by a friend, and this is Jewish. What's that a picture of? What does it teach you about heaven? I don't know. How come you don't wear them? So every single law, just like you found the picture in this, yes? But if you wear this without looking for the picture, that itself is the curse. That's the curse.
I agree.
You shall wear fringes on the four corners of your garments. That's the curse.
Doing it just because God says you got to do it.
Yes, yes. And I'm glad you asked that because I have to sum up with this phrase. It's going to confuse you, but I got to say it.
When you do something,
Okay,
you do
I won't.
it because you have
No.
knowledge of it and because you do it with love. You know, not because it's dictated to you to do it.
Yeah, I'll go with that. I don't like your words, but I'll go with it. But you're right, you're right.
What were you going to say?
What he said was, when you do it with knowledge, and you do it with love for God, and then what did you say?
Yeah,
No, no, you don't do it because it's dictated. Yes, I
Yeah.
agree. Yes, sir.
Like if you do it and it brings blessing, are you doing it correctly?
What do you mean brings blessing?
Well, it helps you walk, you know.
How does it help you walk? How does wearing fringes on this thing help you walk?
Well, it reminds you of God's commandments.
Okay, now you're thinking physically. Good. It reminds you of something. Now, what does that mean? That means you look at it and you get something, some understanding, some revelation. Absolutely right.
It speaks to
Okay,
us.
I have to finish with this phrase, or else, and I just hope it doesn't confuse you, but I have to do it. And you need to check me on it, and you need to do your own research. Nowhere in the scriptures, nowhere does it ever say to obey God. Ever. The word that is translated as obey is Shema. What does Shema mean?
Listen
Here.
Hear or listen. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Elohim, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel. Hear, O Israel. Listen, Israel. The Lord your God, the Lord is one.
Put attention.
Put attention.
Put
Exactly.
attention.
That's, the Bible never says to obey God. In the Tanakh, it is the basis to understand the New Testament. So if you turn to the New Testament and go, see, it says obey. Wrong. It's quoting something in the Old Testament. You need to show me what it's quoting in the Old Testament so you can understand it. And it's not the word obey, it's the word Shema.
I've heard a
It's
lot.
just a bad translation. Greek. Bad translation. The word for that's translated as obey, one of them is upotasso, which means under the hand. And it should more properly be translated submission. And then all the other ones is the word in Greek for Shema, which means to listen. And that's all there is. So we're supposed to be listening to this, and listening to this, and listening to Shabbat, and listening to the Kiddush, and listening to the beard, and listening to everything Jewish. Or else don't do it. You're just Hagar's kids,
It's not talking to you.
not Jerry's kids. You're turning to Hagar's kids instead of Sarah's kids. Now I know that's kind of confusing. Because I know that because Dean has a confused look on his face. That's the only way I know. Yes.
Well, like a fool, I try to explain to my little baby students that I teach every day why I'm doing what I'm doing and why they have to do. And they can't get it. They don't. So sometimes just obeying is the only way that people can.
Let me get that on tape because that's a very good point. It's very wrong.
Because I said so.
It's very wrong, but it's a very good point.
Right. I'm not saying that's
Let
what
me
to
clarify.
do, but I'm saying that's the only way they can.
Let me clarify.
That's why they use that.
In the world, especially for teachers, kids don't understand what you're saying when you give them a rationale for why you're doing it.
Yeah,
They don't
parents.
get it. They just go, what do I do? Okay. And they'll obey you, or they won't. And you are happy when they obey. As a teacher, I'm a teacher. I know. I like when they listen to me. I like better when they know why. But I like when they listen. I like when they obey me. But God isn't like that. And it's not like God's a teacher and we're little baby students. It's not like that. And He never says, do this. He always, and it's hard to find it, but He always says why. Best example is the last teaching I gave, the kosher laws.
Right.
It never says, don't eat pig because it's unclean. What does it say in the
It's
text?
unclean to you.
It's unclean to you. That's the rationale. He always gives us the reason, always. He never says, do this, and doesn't give us in the text the clues to tell us why. Just like we did this. Why? Okay, woman, you had a son. Now, you're unclean for 40 days. Yes, I'll listen to you. Yes, I'll do that. It doesn't do anything, and God doesn't want that. The text says that there's 40 days. I think this is what it means. So look at the rest of the Bible. It'll explain it for us. He always gives his rationale. I understand what you're saying, but unfortunately, the metaphors don't dovetail.
No, I'm just saying that's probably why they translated it with the word obey, because it's the only thing they.
Right, you're exactly right. Not only is it why they translated with the word obey, but it's also we all want to obey.
Right.
We all want to obey from the time of kids. We do. I don't understand that. I'll just listen to you, sir. Right. We don't want to get in trouble with God. We want to obey. I have people argue with me with that point all the time, but it's still true. Yes.
I've had a lot of Jewish people tell me that the word Shema has with it the implication of obeying.
You know why they say
obeying what
that?
you hear.
You know why they say that?
No, I don't know.
Because the reason the Jews say that the word Shema has the implication of obey is because Jusinius in 1837, I believe, gave us a fantastic work, Jusinius, Hebrew lexicon. And he put in there what was common thinking of the time from the German Lutheran Church.
And that's where Strong's got it.
And that's where Strong's got it, and that's where the Jewish rabbis got it in seminary. That work, Jusinius, went into the seminaries. And the German Lutheran Church began this whole thinking of what's called the historic view of the Bible, or in the Reform Judaism. What's that called? What Rabbi Bach taught? No, not Reform. I forgot. They call it historicist view, where they say that you can pick out the different people that wrote the Torah. Like if you read the words, it'll tell you if it was Leviticus, or if it was the priests. You can tell if it was